You're right. I completely agree with you on that one.
Okay, so negative pi over 4 negative.
Dang it. I keep getting confused because the lines aren't the same. That's how
Looks kind of like that. Maybe. Okay, so on the next one, I have tan x plus 1. Now, imagine, I know they didn't write it this way, but really, if you were putting it in your calculator, you would do that. The parentheses are closed after the x and then the plus 1. So what kind of transformation is that? Horizontal or vertical?
Horizontal.
Vertical.
Vertical. If it was horizontal, what would it be? Grouped with x. And it's not. It's outside the x. So this is a vertical change, which means any x values aren't being changed at all. So my asymptotes are still the same. All of my x values for my points are still the same, because this is only a vertical change. Okay, so now what do I have to do to all of my y values? Add 1.
0.
Wait,
Okay, so your first one now, it was at negative 1 when you add 1, now it's at 0. Your point of inflection goes to 0, 1. And your other anchor point goes to pi over 4, 2. So go ahead and draw in your asymptotes.
How'd you draw 10? That was easy.
What's wrong? No, my graphing is terrible. So it's supposed to be curved. These things will line up in a straight line. You know it's supposed to be curved, so just do your best to try to curve it. Okay, so what about this next one? This you need to imagine like that. This is a horizontal change. So remember, with horizontal, with x, it is backwards of what you think. So it looks like multiply by 2. You divide by 2 or multiply by half, that's the same thing. So are your asymptotes going to change? Where will they be now? At the pi over 4s. Because they're already at the half pies. And you now have to multiply that by a half. Does everybody okay understand why I'm multiplying by a half? The 2 in front of the x looks like multiply, but when you do x, it's backwards, so that's really divide by 2, which is the same as multiplying by a half. So negative pi over 2 times a half would be negative pi over 4. Once you've figured out one of your asymptotes, they just repeat at all the pi over 4s. So I know that this is going to be a pi over 4. Okay, so now I need to change my anchor points. This time your y values are not changing at all. So I can put all my y values down and then figure out what my x values are supposed to be. Okay, so my first anchor point has the point negative pi over 4. But you have to divide that by 2, which is the same thing as multiplying by a half. So negative pi over 4 times 1/2 would be negative pi over 8. Now, here's the issue. When I go to look at my graph, I do not have grid lines for my pi over 8s. Where are they?
Right before the pi over 4.
They're exactly between 0 and pi over 4.
Exactly.
So, negative pi over 8, negative 1.
right here.
0 divided by 2, or 0 multiplied by a half, is still 0. So your anchor point stays at 0, 0.
Would this one just be pi over 8?
This one's pi over 8. Try to make it curve. I'm doing a little better on my graphing here this period than I horizontal compression. Because my horizontal asymptotes, they're vertical asymptotes, they got closer together. It's like somebody pushed from the sides. Okay, so now I have tan half x. Is that a horizontal change or a vertical change? Horizontal. It looks like multiply by half or divide by 2, but in fact, multiply by 2.
So it's a stretch?
So this time it is a horizontal stretch. So now my asymptotes are normally at pi over 2, so where are they going to be now?
Pi.
At pi. This is a horizontal change only, so none of your y values are changing. You could write all those down if you wanted to. Alright, this time even though it looks like divide by 2 or multiply by half, you're actually multiplying by 2. So your first anchor point, which is normally negative pi over 4, is now negative half pi. Does everybody know how I got that?
Because
Negative
4 divided
pi
by 2
over
is 2.
4 times 2 over 1. So that would be negative 2 pi over 4, which simplifies. Or I would probably do that. Alright, so this one, 0 times 2 is still 0. So your anchor point stays the same. And this one will be pi over 2. So it gets really fat. And that's a horizontal stretch. Your asymptotes have been stretched apart. Alright, what about the next one? It's a horizontal issue. It's a horizontal change because it's grouped inside with x. It looks like minus pi over 4, but in fact you are going to add pi over 4 because whenever it's with x, it's backwards. So is this going to change my asymptotes?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. They are normally at pi over 2. That's 50 cents. And you are going to add, okay, so I've got negative 50 cents on this side.
So this
I am
would
going to add a quarter.
be 3 pi over 4? With asymptotes?
One of them will be 3 pi over 4. What about this one though?
Negative 3 pi.
It's negative 50, I got negative 50 cents. Then I add a quarter.
Please excuse this announcement. Since we are having the blood drive today, everyone for tutorials needs to go down to the cafeteria.
Can you
Please
get
do
off
not
your
be in the
phone?
hallway or the snack bar. And when the bell rings, please go quietly to the cafeteria. Thank you.
I didn't think we went mine.
You okay?
Yeah, no.
I had negative 50 cents.
Okay.
And then I added a quarter.
Oh, yeah.
So if you had negative 50
okay,
cents in your bank account, you add a quarter, now you have negative quarter. Okay, so on the other side, I had positive 50 cents and I add a quarter. So how many quarters do I have?
Positive 3.
3 quarters, right?
Oh, so I have one of them right.
Four.
Alright, this is just a horizontal issue. So the only thing that's changing are your x values. So I'm going to write all my y values in.
Please excuse this following announcement. Will the following people go to the snack bar to donate blood during tutorials? Angel Galindo, Isaac Wiley, Ashley Tiarita, Roswell Corona, Logan Stewart, and Abigail Camarillo. Thank you.
So what do we do?
I had a negative quarter and I added a quarter to it. Now my bank balance is even, so this is 0. I had 0 and I added a quarter.
0
Pi over 4. I had 2 quarters, added another one. Wait, no, I didn't. I'm sorry, I had 1 quarter, added 1. I had 2. Alright, so 0, negative 1. Everybody kind of okay?
Yes.
So I flipped the thing.
Okay, so remember we learned 2 ways to graph sine and cosine? The next page is the second way to graph tangent. But this page, which is what I want you to do, is the same thing as this,
So
except it's secant and cosecant. So you've got anchor points Well, you have minimums and maximums, and then your asymptotes. It's just like what we just did. It's just for secant and cosecant. So skip page 4
Oh, yeah.
and do page 5. And we'll do page 4 together.